Alrighty, hello and welcome to an Ashes of the Singularity Escalation 2v2 match. Today I'm casting a 2v2 between four of the community's best. This is after the bi-weekly tournament that we had. A bit of a fun way to end the night, to end the stream. So, spawning at the right, playing as our red PHC, it's BradleyATG. His teammate, not his opponent, his teammate is going to be Amelie as the blue Substrate, and their opponents, the green Substrate Neatep and the white PHC Shimbalama. So left is Team Australia, Neatep and Shimbalama, both Aussies, so obviously going to be a little bit biased there in those guys. This is a pretty big map. It's large. This is the map size. I recently updated it in 2.75. There's an extra connection point here, because previously there was a single cutoff, which could be quite frustrating. So I think this is a lot smoother now. It's a pretty weird map, but it's kind of an interesting weird. So basically, at the bottom and the top, you have heaps of resources, but there's only a single connection to those regions. And it's really exposed. So what generally happens is that nobody ever actually gets the bottom or the top because it's so easy to deny them because it's really exposed. And then in the middle, however, then you have a lot more resources again, but it's kind of hard to get to because they're very out of the way. They don't connect to the main base, and there's also that single point cutoff. So I'm interested to see how this goes. And given that these are all really highly ranked 1v1 players, they're going to do this in a way that's efficient. Or at least we would hope. The transition between 1v1 and 2v2 isn't always that seamless. Some concepts, such as aggression, is generally weaker in team games. So if players are too aggressive in team games, they can fall short in the long run. Like generally you want to focus more on Quanta, focus more on amplifiers and refineries, things like that, because that pays off in the long term. Air unit's going to be pretty powerful given the fact that they can't traverse, that land units can't traverse the middle of the map. Air units, of course, can. So there's 2 radioactives there, 2 there. Yeah, so one of the things that I changed in this update in 2.75 is that I moved one of the radioactives deposits from here and put it in the middle. There wasn't one here previously. Because it was kind of weird how these regions applied, but they actually had there's no reason to capture them. Because they didn't connect anything. They connected your base to your opponent's base, but there's no reason to do that. So now at least there's some kind of a reason to go to the middle of the map, some kind of a reason to use air units around this sector. And it also means that this part of the map is less crucial, because it was the only triple radioactives in the entire map, maybe apart from here. No, there's a double, or apart from here anyway. And so you had a bit too much emphasis around this part of the map. So I think that's generally what I try and do in map design is if there's one area in particular that just has too much emphasis, then that's not very interesting. Now, I mean, that being said, sometimes that's kind of the whole point of the map. Like, again, for example, you're going to have a lot of battles around here. But at least that's sort of far away from the Turinium. It's kind of far away from then, the metal and the radioactive, because it is a big map, so you can have a battle here and still have like a fallback point, especially given the high ground. You can have a defensive line of turrets. So let's see if anyone rushes this region. Like if they could get some defenses down there quickly, maybe try and hold the line. There's a few ways you can play this. Or try and just neglect this region, go for the middle instead. Try and lock down all these resources. A nice scout. Scouting is important on 2v2. There's a lot of different ways you can play it. No one wants to get caught off guard by just like a crazy air rush. You know, get some decent information here. He sees one aviary. I don't think he sees the rest. Yeah, this is like a full scout, so... You know, decent. All of our players now having the Tyrannium at pretty much the same time. So you can see the level of skill of these players is really quite tight. They're all, you know, pretty well balanced because you can tell the difference between skill levels because the capping speed and the efficiency just isn't there. Generally straggling behind, not able to saturate the map as efficiently. So they're both neglected this point for now, gone for the metal instead. It's triple metal, so it's a good region. It's a pretty defensible location too, because it backs onto the low ground, so you can just get some turrets there, and it's near this staging point anyway. You often will see like a forward production line here, so you know, a few armories, maybe an advanced a dread launch or an advanced assembly if they're substrate. So yeah, we see assemblies being thrown down. I think it's a good idea. Multiple assemblies for Neatep. So we have a substrate versus substrate battle at the top, and a PHC versus PHC battle at the south. Maybe we'll see artillery installations. That wouldn't be a bad idea. Here's probably a bit too far back, because what you would really want is to have them reach the cutoff point. So I think maybe over here, get some artillery installations. That'd be a pretty nice location. Oh wow, what's this? We saw an avatar. Oops. Decent cutoff. Wow, this is really good damage from Neatep. Shimbalama actually... Wow, they're both focused down Amelie. Sentries... Avatar, Saboteur, you're using all of these orbitals. Emergency turret may be required. Now, let's see if Bradley is a bro and helps out his teammate with his own turrets. Or, I don't know if he has a fabricator to use his own spawns. Like sentries, doesn't look like he has a fabricator. Oh, well, I mean... He had the cutoff. I don't know how long he held it for, though. Is that yeah, that's Bradley, so that's a turret. A little bit unnecessary there because the drone hives are in position. Here would have been a lot better for the emergency turret. Or maybe it was a distraction anyway. I mean, it allowed Neatep to now capture this north. There's no extractors there yet, but he's about to get those shortly, and he is getting an annihilator cannon on that cutoff, so that will be, you know, somewhat possible to hold. Let's see how much emphasis Amelie puts on pushing it. Amelie actually going for the middle instead. So they're focusing different things. What about Shimbalama? What's he actually doing? Going for an advanced Sky Factory. Got an amplifier out. Yeah, I don't really know what Shimbalama's... Oh, okay, he's got a decent cruiser army here. That's pretty good. You can do a lot of damage with that. This is a frigate army, so that's pretty weak. Though it is a decent size, and I like how he's got an Artemis mixed in, so he can push through any defensive lines if there is any. Capping at the south, yeah. So he's got a little army here too. One Apollo, one Artemis, and I mean that makes a big difference there. And the Apollo is a lot stronger in 2.75, so it will give him decent anti-air support. Oh, Neatep and his forward assembly. I wonder if that's the same avatar or if it's a different one. So if we look at Bradley's vision... Wait, you can see that. The avatar is within range. Even his assembly is within range, it seems. Yeah, there we go. See, he called down a turret. A little bit late, though, the assembly actually finishes. They can just call in multiple turrets, so that's not a big deal. Yeah, double turret. That's probably a good call. I don't actually know if the turrets will target buildings, though. Bit of a battle here. Near Shimbalama versus BradleyATG. Massive frigate advantage for Bradley, but is the firepower of his cruisers going to make a difference? Yeah, the army got cleaned up there. Too many Athena cruisers, too many Zeus cruisers. Shimbalama can now continue to push through the center of the map. Yeah, the emergency turrets don't target buildings, but that's fine. The frigates will clean that up. Amelie is still capturing the middle, but Neatep rotated down and took the cutoff. So Neatep's in a great position, having the north saturated with those extractors. He has a lot of income, the most out of all these other players. So he is getting counter-attacked here. The Annihilator currently being upgraded to a heavy Annihilator. May finish just in time for this battle, but he's already lost most of his cruisers. Calls down a Serpentine turret as well. The heavy Annihilator finishes. Yeah, decides to pull back. Another Serpentine turret. Neatep really wants to hold this position because it does connect that entire region. Yeah, that's a nice way of looking at the connections. So amplifier here. Neatep has amplifiers on most of his regions, so that's part of why his income is so impressive. Some cheeky harassment here by Bradley. Don't think it did too much though. And Amelie is actually in the weakest position. I think he's really suffered from that earlier harassment. Hasn't quite consolidated, hasn't got his amplifiers back yet. Drone MRV is smart because they can start sieging down these defenses. Needs to get out either some tormentors or some destructors or both even, just some kind of artillery pressure. Yeah, Amelie's focus on the middle has not paid off. Bradley actually has the south, but not the connection point. Sentinel turret is being built, but a huge army from Bradley is moving in. 10 Athena cruisers, plenty of frigates there for support. Shimbalama has no choice here. His army's going to get cleaned up. He is moving in with some Hades bombers. They can take out these archers. That's going to be a costly raid. It loses a decent number, but Apollo cruisers will shoot them out of the sky. Marauder won't do much on his own. Throwing away a bit of units there at Shimbalama. Yeah, pulling back his units. Needs to regroup. Doesn't have... Oh no, he has got a Sentinel, so that's a decent position to try and hold. Yeah, calls an engineer down, that's nice. So now you can start building all of these extractors. Okay, this is really good. The heavy annihilators are taken out. 17 turrets as well. Maybe an overcommitment there to the turrets. The Maulers are trying to snipe down the destructors, but there's plenty of Maulers for defense. Brent MRV is also going to be shredding. Still, this army, this position has been netting a pretty good income for some time. Neatep still having a fantastic income, and this army is pushing through. I don't know if this is a good move by Shimbalama. There's so many Athenas in position. It's only 2 Apollos, so maybe a weakness of anti-air, but not enough air units to try and punish that. Decent cruiser army, however, for Shimbalama, a mix of Zeus cruisers and Athenas, plus his own archers, his own brutes. They're great versus the Athenas. So he's able to actually win this fight. One Nemesis in the backline doing some good damage as well. Wasn't being focused down. Generally focus that down if you can. So yeah, nice work by Shimbalama. Actually manages to push back this force. There's no defenses here, unfortunately. Went for the extractors instead, so that cutoff will get taken pretty quickly. Dreadnought now being built, so the bottom looking pretty even. The middle is currently... I mean, most of the map control there is held by Neatep. This is a huge army. Does Neatep have a response? Building pulverizers is smart. Building retribute is a good move. I wonder who has any secondary income. We've got some some harvesters there. Refineries being built by Shimbalama. So we are entering that late game phase, or at least certainly the end of the mid game, where players start to invest in the secondary economy. Wow, this is a really strong position. Exterminator turrets, Sky Enders. That's tough. Just needs to get some jamming and some regenerators, and he'll be all Gucci. No one has the middle actually saturated. I doubt we'll see it for a while either. Okay, another great army by Bradley. He's got a Charon here rather for support, but not going to be in time. Great mix of both frigates and cruisers. It's a very well fleshed out composition. Shimbalama's army is going to crumble here. Just doesn't have the firepower to match it. That Charon's expensive. Oh no! Oh, that's so bad. The Nullifier gets warped in just in time to die. Both the Charon and the Nullifier, those are expensive cruisers. Ouch. Oh, another Charon. Shimbalama has nothing left. Oh no. Bradley still has a huge army. He's going to push forward with it. Shimbalama not even having much Quanta either, so he doesn't have many orbitals as an option. Maybe a Plasma Storm, but that's about it. Neatep going for some air units. Huge amount of Dominators, so he has control of the skies. Upgrading to a Starburst is a good choice, and then we do see a bit of anti-air here. Picks off actually 2 of them. That's a good move. But right now, though, the weakest link is Shimbalama. Needs to not lose the Charon, pull it back. Has a Sentinel, but the Sentinel probably can't hold against this many units. Especially with the archers there, really good damage. The Artemis cruisers as well. Yeah, that gets focused down very fast. I think Shimbalama's problem is he focused on lots of things rather than... He tried to get air units, he tried to get nullification, he tried to get a Charon for reinforcements, he tried to get a bit of cruisers, a bit of secondary economy. He didn't really get like either a big army of ground units, a big army of air, a lot of economy, a lot of defense. He didn't really have anything. He kind of straddled the line between all of those things and just ended up being weak. But oh man, this is a costly engagement for Amelie. Not worth the engagement here. The Exterminator is going to be doing so much damage. Has been focused down pretty low, but at what cost? Should have just waited until it was sieged by the Destructors. Oh, he won't take it out either because there's a lot of anti-air taking out these drones. Finally it goes down, but losing his entire cruiser army in the process. Shimbalama still hasn't consolidated. This cruiser army is too small. Maybe he can catch these Athenas out of position because they've actually spread themselves out. Smarty doing a bit of damage as well. Okay, nice team play here from Neatep. He pulls his Rampages down. Plus, with the support of the Hades, it's a decent air army. Will take out these forces. But still, Bradley took out a fair amount of units before his army was cleaned up. Also has the forward Terrenium, now securing the bottom. So Bradley's looking to be the dominant player here. That and Neatep in the north. Should be a Dreadnought soon from Bradley. Yeah, that Hyperion's almost done. It's taken a while because he hasn't been boosting it out with any engineers. He'll be still building a mixed army there of frigates and cruisers. Decent Quanta income. Has plenty of nullifiers as well. Hopefully we see some anti-air deployed soon as well, because this is all vulnerable. Yeah, the Constables are being built, needs to get some kind of upgraded defense. I like this, the Sentinels. It's going to buy a lot of time, make it harder to push through. Let's see who's the most quanta income. Neatep, pretty good, 7.75 per second. Has an overmind on the field for quanta income per second there for Amelie, and it's about 4.5 for Bradley. So Neatep has a great position, great quanta income, great resource income. He's looking pretty solid here. The overmind will give him great anti-air. Not the best anti-ground, but it's still pretty decent. It's a versatile dreadnought with a focus on anti-air. Plus a bit of support too if you upgrade the shield regenerator. The static charge is really good too, disrupts your enemy's weapons. Amelie doesn't have much here. Nice little flanking maneuver as well, looking to take out some of these regions. This one wasn't saturated, that's a bit of a mistake. I don't think he can defend against this overmind. And this is a strong army. I don't see any mobile nullifiers though. Not a lot of anti-air as well. Maybe needs to take care of that. Huh, use an incursion. He's got a few regions to cut off though. Okay, this is a good move, taking out this metal region. Shimbalama trying to get a forward army, but it's very small in comparison. His quanta income is also tiny. I think Shimbalama needs to have a plan. Does he go mass economy? Does he go mass quanta? Mass air units? Does he try and get a dreadnought? Like, what does he do? He's trying to do lots of things and not succeeding in any of them. I think that's his issue. Okay. The Overmind is engaging versus these cruisers. There's a lot of maulers there. Finally, they get within range. The Overmind, though, has taken out a fair bit of cruisers, but let's see if he can hold. Here come the Rampages. They're going to clean up these maulers. Oh, man, not enough anti-air. Well, there is a Sky Star Burst, but it's a little bit off to the side. Overmind's taken down to about 2/3 HP in total. But Amelie is cleaned up here. That's a costly loss. Overmind almost level 3 as well, so that's going to benefit it. This is a nice little attack. It will disconnect this region. That's a upgraded radioactives region there with the amplify structure and the optimized orbital. Neatep also has the entire middle. Yeah, just building out these extractors. So he's going to have a ridiculous income with the top and the middle. Oh, the Rampages are swooping through. They've found the Dreadnought production. There is some Constables, but no upgraded air defense. He's going to lose half of that Dreadnought production. Man, even the Advanced Sky Factory, this is a really good pickup there with those Rampages, but this army is just absolutely huge. Has a nullifier there, just not enough anti-air it seems. Shimbalama's pulling back, but he's taking some losses on retreat. And how does he respond to all these air units? Doesn't even have much static defense back home. He has one Falcon. I mean, all these refineries are exposed. There's one Sentinel and a second one coming up soon. Bradley's now floating resources because he lost all his production. So he doesn't have any way to spend this now. He needs to prioritize just spending his cash on dreadnoughts or something. Okay, Shimbalama is engaging this army, but this is futile. The Hyperion maybe will get focused down here, but I doubt it. Strat Bomber. Strat Bomber is going to be really effective versus both the cruisers and the frigates. Yeah, there's no anti-air support here, so once the Apollo goes down, the Strat Bomber has free reign. That's a really smart choice. That Strat Bomber is perfect. Because the Hyperion now is, you know, it's an absolute powerhouse, but it's unsupported. Meanwhile, it seems the Rampages are just wrecking face. Oh man, you should always have Falcons near your refinery lines. That's costly. Bradley not only losing his production, but now also losing his part of his economy. That's so much of his metal income down. It's one bonus of building your refineries on your Nexus is that then it's easier to defend. Yeah, look at that, Eliminator and a Falcon. If his refineries were here, he wouldn't have lost them. Because refineries don't benefit from amplifiers, so there's no benefit to building refineries on this region as opposed to this region. The only determining factor for the efficiency of refineries and harvesters is how many deposits are in that region. Even metal extractors don't actually affect the refinery. So the Hyperion is still alive. Strat Bomber not having much single target damage and having that regenning hull keeping it alive. But the Marauders are a great choice. The Marauders have better single target damage. We'll clean this one up. But should try and pull it back, and he's got some air defense here. Yeah, regardless. I think the left hand's going to win now because Neatep is just an absolute powerhouse. Got a Retributor mixed in. Retributor's really good versus the mass cruisers. There is certainly a fair bit of them. He's calling down forward reinforcements. Okay, let's see how this engagement goes. Neatep has a fantastic position with the double dreadnoughts, but the mass maulers are doing so much damage. The Retributor, though, isn't the target, and that's going to be more important than the Overmind. More cruisers are being built to reinforce this position. We're going to see the Overmind go down, but the Retributor's still on the field. Maybe it's been just overwhelmed. Now, the Maulers are getting low on energy, but they're also getting low on numbers. Annihilator's doing some damage. Neatep has a fair bit of money. Yeah, the Maulers out of energies, they can no longer fire. Putting capacitors, that's a good choice, but a little bit late. It's going to have access to one of the instant repairs. Rampager swoops in for a bit of air damage. He should clean this up eventually, but pretty costly. Down it goes. Because Neatep has the middle and he has the top, so there's so much income. You're going to replace those units very quickly. Wait, what? This Hyperion survived? Oh my god. Shimbalama, I guess he didn't get more Marauders in. He only had one Marauder and one Strat Bomber. That is not a lot of damage. If it was Substrate and if it was the Air Harbinger, it would have been enough, because the Substrate, their heavy bomber, the Harbinger, it's all about that single target armor piercing, where the PHC Strat Bomber is all about that massive AoE damage. So to take out the Harbingers with the Dreadnoughts, take them out with air units, you really want to have about five or so Air Marauders. Strat Bombers just aren't ideal. I mean, even a Juggernaut's an option. Yeah, here we go. The Eye of Darkness is being built after the Retributor. And the Overmind too. So he has a good mix of Dreadnoughts. Because the Overmind just gives him plenty of anti-air. And the Retributor still gives him that deadly, that shock unit against cruisers. Amelie trying to just rebuild a cruiser army of mainly Maulers. But his income is almost half that of Neatep. So it seems a bit futile at this point. Shimbalama's going to be pushing back. Bradley still struggling to recover from what happened, losing his production, losing all of his refineries. Well, the refineries on his metal line, at least. Also, slowly healing his Hyperion. Trying to build a Leonidas, but that'll take a long time. This is a great harassment by Neatep going around the side. Forces him to give up the high ground as well. If he wants to defend this position, he has to then concede this forward base. So it seems that Amelie is happy to just, well, I don't know if happy is the right word, but Amelie is willing, we'll say. Amelie is willing to concede this position. Meanwhile, another air raid swoops in. There are some Apollos, so they do repel this attack, but loses a couple of structures. He's got a fair bit of drone MRVs. Oh, nice pickup. The Rampage is all getting cleaned up. That's an expensive loss there by Neatep. Now, drone MRVs, they're going to be really good versus the frigates and the cruisers, but definitely not good against the dreadnoughts. So the drone MRVs, they have a lot of range. They also have AoE damage. So a combination of drone MRVs with some pulverizers, in particular if he upgrades them to the Exterminator, that would be perfect, because that's then really, the Exterminator has full armor piercing, good single target damage. Decent air army though, 2 strategic bombers, a lot of Furies for support. So that seems to be Shimbalama's new focus. The ground production is, you know, pretty small, just spending a lot of money in the air units. Seems Bradley hasn't got enough air defense consistently. Doesn't have any of his own Furies to try and contest the sky. Doesn't have any Falcons around. Which is surprising given how much he's actually lost to the air units of Neatep. But we see a bit of air harassment as well from Amelie. Taking out the middle is relatively undefended. Yeah, there's multiple Sky Enders in the main base. Neatep also has plenty of Nexus health upgrades, so he's in no risk of getting his Nexus attacked, or really his main base at all. Okay, there's a decent amount of frigates here, the Atlas frigates. Just needs to make sure he avoids getting one shot by a strat bomber. The Atlas frigates are much faster, and they can also just split up. Okay, a bit of a sky battle on the left side. Blossom launchers are being built. There's a forward armory attempting to be built, but no, cheeky Bradley doesn't finish it. Team 2 has full Turinium control. Oh no! Another really rich region with refineries, but not having enough anti-air defense. Constables, they're only the basic defense. You really want to upgrade them to Falcons or Eliminators. Constable costs about 200 metal. One squadron of Furies is 200 metal. It's like 120 metal, 200 Brads. So that's just such a small amount of money to be spending on such an important region. But yeah, at the north we see Amelie's crumbling. Neatep's pushed through. The main base crumbled. Actually, I missed that fight, but I think you get a pretty clear picture of how it went. Bradley's nowhere near getting his Leonidas, and that nested the Queen, or rather the Eye of Darkness. Yeah, it's basically done now. So this was an absolute domination by Neatep. He played this one so well. Pushing straight for the kill. Yeah, Bradley he had a fantastic army, but it just wasn't really that final army that he had. He just had that one key weakness of not having enough anti-air. I think you should always have like 5 Apollos. That's going to be all the anti-air that you need, unless your opponent has a crazy amount of strategic bombers, for example. But for the most part, 5 Apollos, you just get that critical mass of splash damage. And Amelie had a really rough start. I mean, and that was deliberate because both of their opponents, Neatep and Shimbalama, both focused Amelie with the sentries, the saboteurs. An Avatar as well was used at one point, so Amelie was sort of put behind from the beginning. And yeah, couldn't keep up with Neatep. He focused the middle too, which just didn't help him at all, so I think that wasn't a good strategy. The middle is, yeah, hard to hold. There goes the Dread launch. Leonidas is cancelled. Tragic. There's a decent army here, but it's pretty small. Yeah, one Hyperion. I mean, look how many Nemesis there are. There's 15 Nemesis. They can probably one-shot the Hyperion, let alone everything else in that army. At the Nexus being cleaned up here. There's no defenses in position.
An enemy Nexus has been destroyed.
Bradley's trying to cheese his opponent with incursions and whatnot. He actually gets a forward factory, but no way does Shimbalama let it happen. Well, Amelie's dead. You're next, Bradley. Even Shimbalama's pushing against Bradley. He's going to have to hold against two different flanks. Spoiler alert, he won't be able to. Juggernaut on the field. Sad I didn't see action. Would have been a nice way to end the game. See, this is a good mix. 3 Apollos. Still sort of the bare minimum. Just because of strap bombers. And look at this position and think how you'd be feeling right now if you were Bradley. Bunch of PHC down the south, bunch of Substrate at the north. That's like a really good screenshot, actually. I want to... Shame I can't turn off the UI. Yeah, rest in peace, Bradley. I'm always looking for screenshots for marketing content. Because whenever I post an update, there's always like screenshots that are used. Yeah, this army's being just completely overwhelmed. It's mainly Apollos, so not much of a ground fighting force for Bradley. He gets completely wrecked, and Shimbalama didn't even let his teammate join the fight. Well, rest in peace, Bradley. I think he's trying to go for a Nexus snipe. Looks like it almost died anyway with the Hyperion. Well, Bradley fought until the end. What more can we say? Now, if Bradley really wanted to draw this out, he'd get an next health upgrade just to make them do, like, take twice as long to blow it up. I have never seen so many units on top of someone's Nexus before. GG. Well, Neatep was on fire that game. Look at that, Quanta invested, resource gain. It's crazy. Oh man, Bradley. That's really sad. There must have been when he lost all his refineries or all his production, and like it happened both. That's sad. Yeah, Neatep doing pretty well for himself. Well, I'm tired, and I'm gonna wrap up the stream here. That was 3 hours and 12 minutes, so that was a fun stream. We had 4 1v1 games in the tournament, and then a nice 2v2 to wrap things up on a pretty big map. So that's a fun look at 2.75. And yeah, this will be posted on the Stardock YouTube channel. So to everyone who watched it there, thanks for tuning in. And subscribe to the channel for all Ash's content and announcements. Cheers. Cheers to everyone who tuned in to the live stream.